Have you ever found yourself just wondering? Lying in the quiet of your own room, the day replaying itself in your mind, and you land on a moment, a single, seemingly insignificant glance, a text message that was just a little too thoughtful, a silence that felt a little too comfortable. And a question blooms in the quiet of your heart: is this real? Am I imagining this, or is something truly happening here? We've all been in that place, that tender, vulnerable crossroads between hope and fear, where every signal feels both incredibly loud and impossibly quiet all at once. It's a confusing, beautiful, and often agonizing space to inhabit. You're not just reading into things, you're trying to read another human soul, and you're terrified of misreading the map. But what if the map isn't a complex puzzle to be solved, but a story already being written in a language of subtle, consistent, and deeply human cues? What if the truth isn't a mystery to be uncovered, but a song already playing, and you just need to learn how to listen to the melody? Because the beautiful, grounding truth is that mutual attraction, that sacred spark between two people, doesn't live in the grand, dramatic declarations we see in movies. It lives in the soil of the everyday. It roots itself in the small, consistent, almost invisible ways we show up for one another. Psychology and biology aren't cold, clinical sciences in this regard. They are simply documenting the poetry of human connection, giving us the vocabulary to understand the music our hearts already recognize. So let's set aside the anxiety, just for a moment. Let's quiet the voice of doubt that asks, "Is this all in my head?" and replace it with a curious, open heart that asks, "What is already here?" Because the signs are there, woven into the very fabric of your interactions, and when you start to see them, the entire picture shifts from one of questioning to one of quiet, confident knowing. Imagine for a moment the flow of a river. When attraction is one-sided, it's like a single stream of water pushing against a still bank. All the effort, all the current, comes from one direction. It's exhausting, and eventually, the water either erodes the bank or gives up and recedes. But when it's mutual, it's like two rivers meeting, converging into a single, powerful, flowing current. The effort is balanced. The energy is shared. You'll see this in the beautiful, simple dance of initiation. You text them a song that made you think of them, and they don't just send back a thumbs up, they listen to it and tell you which lyric stuck with them. A few days later, they'll send you a picture of a dog that looks like yours, or an article about that obscure hobby you mentioned once in passing. And you, in turn, feel a genuine spark of joy when their name lights up your phone. You don't feel like you're chasing, and you don't feel chased. There's no scorekeeping, no anxiety about who reached out last. It's a gentle, rhythmic volley, a constant, quiet reassurance that says, "I am here, and I know you are there, and this space between us is alive." It's not about the content of the messages, it's about the current running beneath them. It's the unspoken conversation happening within the conversation, the one that says, "You are taking up space in my mind, and it is a pleasant place for you to be." This is the first sign, a balanced, effortless flow of attention, a river finding its way to the sea, naturally, inevitably. And then, there's the silent, subconscious dance, the one your bodies perform without your conscious minds ever getting permission. It's called mirroring, and to call it imitation is to call a symphony noise. It is something far more profound. It is your nervous systems, your very biology, recognizing a kindred spirit and saying, "I am safe with you. I am in sync with you." You're sitting across from them at a cafe, and you take a sip of your drink. A moment later, they take a sip of theirs. You lean back in your chair and cross your legs. Almost imperceptibly, they adjust their posture to match. Your speech patterns, the cadence of your laughter, the rhythm of your stories, they begin to harmonize. This isn't a party trick or a manipulative tactic. This is the ancient, primal language of belonging. It's your body's way of building a bridge to another person, of creating a shared, physical reality. When this happens, what you are witnessing is a conversation happening beneath words, a alignment of two souls creating a unified field. It's the feeling of being on the same wavelength, a resonance that makes conversations feel effortless and silences feel comfortable. It's your spirit whispering to theirs, and their spirit whispering back, in the quiet, physical poetry of a shared lean, a matched smile, a synchronized breath. And because being near the source of that feeling is a magnetic pull, you will both find yourselves creating reasons to be in the same space. This is the third sign, the conscious and subconscious prioritization of shared time. Attraction craves proximity. It's a fundamental law of emotional physics. When two people like each other, they will orbit one another, drawn by a gravity that feels both exciting and comforting. This doesn't have to look like elaborate, planned dates. In fact, it's often more telling in its simplicity. It's them suggesting a walk after work because they know you'll say yes. It's you inviting them to tag along on a boring errand, and them genuinely enjoying the mundane task simply because you're together. It's finding yourselves the last two people at a party, not out of obligation, but because the conversation has become its own universe, a world you don't want to leave. You'll notice that plans are made and kept with a sense of ease, not negotiation. There's no heavy lifting, no convincing. The time together is its own reward. It's the feeling that an ordinary Tuesday evening can feel like an event because you're sharing a pizza on the floor, or that a long car ride flies by because the conversation never lags. This is the architecture of a budding relationship being built, not with grand gestures, but with the humble, sturdy bricks of shared, ordinary moments. You are both actively, willingly, and joyfully building a world that only the two of you inhabit, and the very act of building it feels like the point. But perhaps the most profound, the most undeniable sign, is the one that can only be felt in the spaces between the noise, in the quiet moments when the rest of the world falls away. When it's just the two of you, something in the atmosphere shifts. It's a change in energy, a subtle but palpable drop into a deeper, more resonant frequency. The tone softens. The jokes might subside, and what remains is a profound sense of presence. This is the fourth sign, the private, intimate energy that exists only in your shared solitude. You might find yourselves holding eye contact for a second too long, a silent conversation passing between you that words could never capture. The stories you share might be a little more vulnerable, the questions a little more curious, the listening a little more profound. In these moments, even silence isn't empty, it's full. It's a rich, comfortable silence that speaks of trust and understanding. It's in these moments that you feel truly seen, not for your curated self, but for the raw, authentic person you are. And you, in turn, see them. There's a mutual recognition, an unspoken acknowledgement that says, I am here with you, and it feels different than being with anyone else. These are the moments that linger. They are the scenes you replay in your mind before you fall asleep, not because they were dramatic, but because they were dense with meaning. They are the embers that continue to glow long after the fire of the moment has passed, and you can be sure, with every fiber of your being, that they are feeling that same warmth, that same lingering glow. So if you have been noticing these things, the balanced flow of energy, the subconscious mirroring, the joyful prioritization of time, the sacred shift in private energy, please, trust what you are seeing. Trust what you are feeling. You are not making it up. You are not being desperate or reading too much into things. You are simply paying attention to the most beautiful love story ever told, which is the one that unfolds quietly, patiently, in the language of subtle gestures and shared glances long before a single word of confession is ever spoken. This connection you're feeling is a living, breathing thing you are building together, word by word, silence by silence, moment by moment. The truth is already unfolding right in front of you, not as a question mark, but as a gentle, steady invitation. The awareness of these signs is your compass, not to create something that isn't there, but to have the courage to acknowledge what already is. It gives you the confidence to step out of the shadows of doubt and into the light of what is possible, to finally close the gap between wondering and knowing, and to perhaps, when the time feels right, give that beautiful, unfolding truth a voice. Keep noticing the small things. Listen to the quiet music. Sometimes, the most important truths in the world are whispered.